By offering my deepest condolences to my Lord Justice Mandukhail Sahab, and I'm sure both sides join in that. Allah's will.
In response to duty, he is here after.
Most grateful, my Lord, most grateful. May the departed be blessed by Allah. In Jannat, we share your sorrow, my Lord.
Thank you very much.
My Lord, I go straight away to the judgment in the case of Sindh High Court Bar. This is reported as PLD 2009, Supreme Court 789, which is the short order and the operative order, and then PLD 2009, Supreme Court 879. Now, this is what I have submitted, a judgment that forms a part of the set of judgments whereby this court has tried and successfully accomplished the return to the constitutional path after a constitutional deviation. So I've submitted that throughout our history, there are judgments whereby this court has intervened to cleanse the system of the effects of an unconstitutional event or act. So this is a key judgment in that series of judgments. Now, my lords will recall on the 3rd of November 2007, a so-called emergency was imposed. Thereafter, a series of presidential orders, PCOs were issued, whereby the appointment of judges, the tenure of judges, the longevity of ordinances, all of these matters were purportedly regulated, taken care of, as if it were. And when this judgment finally comes, it holds that the event of the 3rd of November 2007 was a non-eth event. It was a constitutionally void event. And all subsequent actions, the entire superstructure built on the event of the 3rd of November 2007, therefore, was also unconstitutional and void, and the entire superstructure was brought down. Kindly turn with me to page 789 in PLD 2009 Supreme Court. Look, we've started at 9:45. And I'll inshallah abide by the time given to me.
Page 945.
My Lord, I go first to 789, PLD 2009, Supreme Court 789, and then from pages 802 onwards. This is the short order, and then the detailed judgment is reported as page 879.
G.
But kindly see at page 802, this is the operative part of the order. I won't read all of it. From above, the conclusions drawn are that the General Pervez Musharraf retired in the garb of emergency plus, and the provisional constitution order made amendments in the constitution by self-acquired powers which all are unconstitutional, unauthorized, without any legal basis, hence without any legal consequences. 2. Mr. Justice Abdul Hamid Dogar took oath as CJP in violation of order dated so-and-so, passed by a 7-member bench headed by D. Jore, Chief Justice of Pakistan, and in pursuance of unconstitutional instruments introduced by General Pervez Musharraf, retired, additionally knowing well that the office of Chief Justice was not lying vacant. Also, the judges who were either retired or were not holding any judicial office besides those in high courts took fresh oath on their appointment on and after 3/11/2007 till 15/12/2007 in the Supreme Court, where the full strength of judges along with ad hoc judges appointed under the Constitution were already working. I go on. I won't read all of it. These 4 pages lay out the violations, pages 802, 803, all the violations of the Constitution which occurred. And then kindly see para 22 at page 804, spells out the consequences. It clearly says that the appointment of Justice Dogar as the purported Chief Justice was void ab initio, of no legal effect. All the judges thereafter appointed were wrongly appointed, and their appointment is of no legal effect. All the judges removed were wrongly removed, and therefore they stand restored. So the judgment takes care of the illegality, the void that was sought to be created, the deviation in the constitutional order of the 3rd of November, and then comes back to cleanse and then also fill up the void. Because kindly see, when we go to the detailed judgment, PLD 2009-879, the court recognizes that the extended time period given to the ordinances that were promulgated after the 3rd of November, they were given permanence. And that permanence was unconstitutional. The court says this could not have been done. But if the ordinances are then declared to have become ineffective after 120 days, then a void ensues. Because those ordinances have in effect or in fact taken effect. So the court then gives a timeline. The court then says that these ordinances should be placed before Parliament, for Parliament to either validate them or not validate them with retrospective effect or whatever Parliament will want to do with these ordinances. So a complete timeline is then given. Kindly see, if we go in the detailed judgment, PLD 2009, Supreme Court, page 789, I go to page 1188. And about the middle of the page, kindly see, close to the foot of the page, the judgment in Shaila Zia's case is mentioned, which is a landmark authored by His Lordship Justice Salim Akhtar as he then was, but about 10 lines from there, the relief being in the nature mentioned in Article 199 can be modified and also consequential reliefs can be granted, which may ensure effective protection and implementation of the fundamental rights. Am I lords, my lady with me?
Ji.
Ji. So they say we can now, given that all these violations have occurred, we have to bring the system back to the constitutional path. Therefore, we can modify whatever relief is to be granted. We are not bound by what the petition is seeking. We will grant the relief which is appropriate in the facts and circumstances of the case. So the prayer is of no relevance once the court comes to the conclusion that there has been a constitutional deviation. Article 184(3) is attracted. All orders in the nature of orders under Article 199 can be passed and beyond. The court then proceeds to do so. I may also add, even I read the next sentence, Article 199 can be modified and also consequential reliefs can be granted which may ensure effective protection and implementation of the fundamental rights. Even disputed questions of fact which do not require voluminous evidence can be looked into where fundamental right has been breached. However, in case where intricate disputed questions of facts involving voluminous evidence are involved, the court will desist from entering into such controversies. Primarily, the questions involved are decided on admitted or prima facie, now I underline, prima facie established facts. That is good enough for the purpose of a decision and an order under Article 184(3). Prima facie established facts which can be determined by filing affidavits. Evidence in support of allegations can be taken orally in very exceptional cases where the breach is of a very serious nature affecting large section of the country and is of great general importance. Then I go to page 1204. Here we have in front of us paragraph 186, and I read, Proclamation of Emergency and PCO number 1 of 2007 having been declared unconstitutional and void ab initio, and the validity purportedly conferred on all such ordinances by means of Article 270 AAA and by the judgment in Tikka Iqbal Muhammad Khan's case also having been shorn, such ordinances would cease to be permanent laws, with the result that the life of such ordinances would be limited to the period specified in Articles 89 and 128 of the Constitution, was 4 months and 3 months respectively from the date of their promulgation. Then they go on. They say, but the fact is that de facto they've taken effect. People have ordered their lives in accordance with these ordinances, even though this longevity given to them, this permanence given to them, was unconstitutional. Therefore, in paragraph 188, kindly see, they give certain timelines. In the light of the above, the question of validation of such ordinances would be required to be decided by the Parliament or the concerned provincial assemblies. However, the period of 4 months and 3 months mentioned respectively in Articles 89 and 128 of the Constitution would be deemed to commence from the date of the short order passed in this case on 31st July 2009, and steps may be taken to lay such ordinances before the Parliament or the respective provincial assemblies in accordance with law during the aforesaid periods. So they have derived a timeline by basing it on a provision of the law, but deriving a principle out of that law, deriving guidance out of that stated position in the Constitution. There is nothing, no law says that if an ordinance is unconstitutionally prolonged, if its tenure is unconstitutionally prolonged, there is no law